What's up guys, it's Manga Time. Once again I'm here today to bring you my review of Bleach 614, Kill the King. Now this chapter is awesome, this is so much better than the last week's chapter. Pretty much everything about this chapter is better than the last two chapters we've had of this year. This is when Bleach is gonna, shit's gonna start going down in 2015. And it's about time too, to be honest. So it starts off still with the people in the Gotei 13, which I thought was going to annoy me when I first saw it. But actually their interactions are really quite good this week. It actually starts off with the rest of the Vizards showing up. Hiyori, Love, Rose... No, not Rose. Rose is dead. Hachi and Lisa. And they all kind of show up and Shinji's like, what the hell are you doing here? And basically they have their typical back and forth with Shinji and etc. But I did actually laugh out loud at one point when Hiyori's like, oh, well, I'm going to ignore people with Bob's haircuts then. And Shinji turns around to Soifon of all people and he's like, looks like you're being ignored. And she's like, I don't have that kind of hairstyle. And it's like, it's so weird to see like Soifon kind of joining in on the, I mean, like, she's still pissed off, but it's funny, and it does, I feel, denote a bit of a change in her character. And then we then finally see what they're all up to. And Hiyori's got some huge kind of like, it's almost like a teapot, but it's like a big funnel made out of what looks like metal, and she pours what appears to be lots of water into the middle of their little ring that they've all stepped into. But of course we know it's not water, it's actually like liquid reiatsu, basically, liquid reishi almost. And Saruki is like, I see this liquid but I'm not feeling wet, and then Urahara says, yeah, this is a byproduct of all the distortion that's been caused, and this is what's going to get us to the palace. It's what got Ichigo to the palace before, because Yoroichi collected it all. And so basically it's fusing it all with the reactors of the captains will get them all to the Soul King Palace. So that's kind of cool. But then one of my favourite bits of this chapter comes, and Urahara's like, all of you Vizards, there are some Shihakushos in the back, can you go and change into them? And it's like, whoa, what? Hiyori obviously flips out because she hates the Shinigami still. But Love's just kind of like, Shinji, Rose, and Kensei are doing the best they can. Are you really going to be able to hold your head high if you don't put the Shihakusho on? And then we get this rather somber picture of the four of them. And it's awesome. It's really cool. Like, these guys are finally going to wear Shihakusho again for the first time. Well, technically since Turn Back the Pendulum, but in terms of canon for like over 100 years. That's just awesome. And this is interesting because the best thing about this interaction that we get at the beginning of this chapter is we kind of get everyone's real thoughts. Like, this is the Vizards' real thoughts. They're willing to pretty much do whatever it takes now to help out. And now we get Kenpachi, and this is interesting because he's like, what do we do with this ball thing? We just put our Reiatsu in it. Which I thought was interesting because that's actually what I thought he was going to do as well. I thought it was a replication of the Shiba orbs that they used in Soul Society, but apparently it's not. Urahara says that with them they'll be creating doors that will take them straight to the Soul King Palace. So this is yet another method of going to the Soul King Palace, which is quite funny. But they seem to build one door already. I don't know if that's the only door they're going to be using, but the door appears to get built. And Urahara says, that this is the only way we can get there, but there might not be a way back. And that's even more prevalent at the end of the chapter. But Soifon then has a go at him. This is when we get how Soifon really feels, which is very interesting because Soifon and Urahara have always had a frosty relationship, pretty much since she blames Urahara for Yoroichi leaving the Soul Society in the first place. But we actually kind of find out that now she maybe doesn't feel that way, but she does still hate him. Well, not hate him, but dislikes him for a certain reason. And Urahara's like, she basically says to him, you're deciding to tell us this now, that we might not be able to come back? And Urahara's like, I'm sorry, don't get angry with me. And then Soifon's like, that's not what I mean. And then she says, you always think that if you told us, we'd back away. And she's like, I can't stand that part of you that thinks so little of us. And it's really, really good for her to say that to him, because Urahara does do that. He treats everyone like children in that sense. He's done it with Ichigo plenty of times. I think he's done it with Ichigo's friends as well, where he tells them the truth of the events, basically, and expects them to back out. And that's why he leaves telling them the truth of the events till the end. And basically, Soifon is telling him to, stop fucking with them and finally be, like, open about what he plans to do, all this sort of stuff. Because Urahara is extremely shady. He's always been very shady. And, she basically says, don't think so little of us because you were once part of the 13 squads. And then Ukitake turns to him and he's like, we all felt the same way about those feelings of duty for the Gotei. I thought that was really nice. I think that's just a really nice little interaction between the characters. And in my opinion, it's quite cathartic because it feels like it's been quite a long time coming. It's people telling Urahara, stop with the mysterious shit, because we're all in this together. And then Kenpachi speaks up, and it's relatively typical of Kenpachi, apart from the last bit he says. He's like, oh, that, protecting the Gote, being able to come back, I don't really care about any of that. And when he said that, I was kind of like, oh, come on, Kenpachi, everyone's making strides apart from you. But then he says, the only thing I look forward to is putting those bastards in the ground. And I was like, whoa, okay. I didn't realise Kenpachi had such an animosity towards the Quincy, that he actually wanted to see them dead. We've never seen that from Kenpachi before. He always, craves a good fight over anything first, but he actually wants to kill these Quincy, which I thought was interesting. I wish we actually got a reason for it. I was half expecting him to say because of what they did to Yamamoto, but because we know that he and Yamamoto have not had the best relationship, but they had the kendo training, etc., etc. But I also think it's probably more to do with the fact that he wants to go and find Yachiru, but, at the end of the day, it was still kind of neat. He thinks, he's like, we haven't got time to waste, so let's get moving. And Urahara gives a little smile to himself, and he's like, alright, let's go. And before they leave, he says all of us need to go together, and we see a picture of Hiyori putting on a Shihaku show for the first time in 100 years, and it's a really good picture as well. It looks awesome. But then we finally go to the Soul King's throne room, where Ichigo and the others are basically staring Yhwach down. And Ichigo's like, we've come to stop you. And Yhwach's like, yeah, I've already seen it all. You've come to stop me from killing the Soul King. And Ichigo's like, what are you trying to say? How have you already seen it? And Orihime correctly points out that there's something messed up with Yhwach's eyes. And Ichigo questions him on that. He's like, what's wrong with your eyes? And Yhwach says that these are the eyes that can see through everything. And he says that they're the proof of a true Quincy, which is interesting. Does that mean that every Quincy has the ability to do that? And this also brings me on to another point. Yhwach says that the eyes are the proof of a true Quincy. So, does that mean that the Soul King is actually a Quincy? I'm not going to lie, it's an idea that I've bandied around a little bit before in my head, that the Soul King might actually be a Quincy. Purely because he clearly has immense Reiatsu and Reishi control. If he can turn someone's bones into the Oken, that's, in my opinion, seems like a Quincy level technique that you'd be able to, remaster their bones like that. So I'm going to get into that Soul King a little bit more later on, but presumably, I think we get the reason why Yhwach said, damn it, you monk, or whatever he said at the end of last week's chapter. I think it's just because Ichibei told them how to get there. Because he says, you met him and he got himself revived, and then you followed what he said to come here, so that's fair enough. That's no big deal. But then Yhwach basically says, I saw everything and I know what will happen to you next. And then he steps aside and reveals the Soul King's been stabbed, and it's just an awesome panel. And he's like, you're already too late. And it's just like, whoa, man, this is an awesome panel. It looks so cool. We also see that the Soul King doesn't have any legs either. So he doesn't have any hands, doesn't have any arms, doesn't have any legs from about the bottom half down. He's buck-ass naked. Alright, Kubo, let's just stop things right here. You need to tell us about this character. Because I think he dies at the end of this chapter. And it's like, you can't just have a character like this that's basically a mannequin, but is apparently the Soul King, and don't say anything about him. Because, presumably, it's all well and good having a character that looks like the Soul King, acts like the Soul King, because he still hasn't said anything, or even done anything. Is he even able to do anything? That's the thing, we don't know. So it's all well and good having a character like that, but you have to tell us why. So I'm still hoping that Kubo will do, because I'm expecting a flashback any day now, any week now. But yeah, so Kubo, you better tell us. Anyway, Ichigo kind of looks shocked at seeing the Soul King with a sword through his chest, and Yhwach's like, the Soul King is no more, you have no moves left to make. And he appears to be baiting Ichigo here, actually, because the Soul King is not dead yet. Ichigo lunges. At first I thought he lunged for Yhwach, but I'm not entirely sure. Well, I thought he lunged to take the sword out, but I'm not 100% sure. He leaps at Yhwach to get the sword out, and Yhwach's like, are you going to draw the sword out of the king and save his life? do it, because that's the only thing you have left to do. But be aware that the moment you take the sword out, be prepared to destroy the entire Soul Society with your own hands. Now, that's cool, man. Before we move on, when I first read this, I've had this theory in my mind that the Soul King wasn't dead, but he will die when the sword is taken out of him, and that's what I thought Yhwach was getting at. I thought Yhwach was tricking Ichigo into taking the sword out of the king and then accidentally killing him, and that's what that's what I thought he meant. I thought he meant by taking the sword out, you'll destroy the Soul Society by killing the king. It's not quite the case. Ichigo removes the sword, but as he does so, his arm kind of the Blut vein just goes all the way up his arm and onto his face, a bit like Blut vein Unharbored did to Ichigo in their fight. And so Ichigo's like, what? No, so Ichigo's like, what the hell? And the sword seems to act on its own. The Blut is going up on his arm, and all of Ichigo's friends are like, oh crap. And basically Ichigo slashes the Soul King. He seems to kill him. Again, the Soul King is just like, so yeah, we need to know more about that. But anyway, Ichigo just slashes the Soul King, and he's like, oh shit. And Yhwach's basically like, I kind of forgot to tell you. The Quincy blood flowing within your veins, Ichigo, is never going to overlook an existence like the Soul King. And basically, I think the Soul King's dead, because Ichigo is now looking down at the ground, and as he's looking down, there's chunks of something falling, and either that's the Royal Palace collapsing, which I don't think it is necessarily, or it's just the Soul King's cocoon breaking, because Ichigo's finally properly slashed it. And then Yhwach basically says, let's watch this together now, the end of the Soul Society. And as he says this, the Seki walls around Soul Society begin to split apart. And that's the end of the chapter, so holy shit! Ichigo may have just doomed everyone. So that's why Urahara is saying we might not be able to come back now has some credence, because the Soul Society may be gone by the time they finish up in the Royal Realm. So that's crazy. Now, the Soul King. The Soul King is definitely a shady character. I know he's probably no longer still alive, but I reckon he's definitely a villain. He's definitely a villain. Just because I feel like Yhwach says that Ichigo's Quincy blood won't be able to overlook the Soul King's existence, implying that Quincy's hate the Soul King. They hate the Soul King for a reason, and they hate him enough that their blood instinctively wants to kill him. I don't think it's Yhwach controlling Ichigo. I feel that'd be too simple. I don't think it's him controlling. I do feel it's Ichigo's Quincy blood instinctively reacting against the Soul King. So that's why I thought that maybe Ichigo could be instinctively lunging at the Soul King to kill him against his own will. But I'm not sure, because the Blut vein only seems to activate as he takes the sword out. So it's hard to say. But it would appear the Soul King is probably dead. But we don't know why Quincy hate the Soul King enough to want to kill him. It could still fit with the whole Soul King theory that I had about him being a Quincy. Maybe he deserted them. Maybe when he took the throne, he was like, let's just get rid of the other Quincy, and he initiated the 1,000-year war and the 200-year extinction event. That'd be cool. We need a flashback. We need a flashback now. It has to be. The thing is, I've been saying this for ages now, but now we really do need one, Kubo. We need one. Now that the Soul King stuff is going down, you have to give us a flashback. We need to know who the Soul King is, why the Quincy hate him so much, who Yhwach is, where the Stone have come from, who the Quincy are, the original Gotei 13. We need to know all of this stuff. We need to know who the Soul King is and why he has the right to rule the Soul Society, why he looks the way he does. But other than that, we have a lot of questions, but other than that, this was an awesome chapter, and it's setting up for what is possibly a massive twist. I don't think Ichigo and Yhwach are going to fight now. That seems fairly obvious to me. The Elite Stonemeter may still show up, but possibly not. I do feel like Soul Society is going to be destroyed, which is exactly why those characters are leaving the Soul Society. Because maybe everyone else will die. That means Miyuri's a dead man if he's down there still. Komamura, unfortunately, might die. Komamura's always been a candidate to be killed, which is a massive shame. But at the same time, that might not happen. But it does feel like, to me, Kubo is saving these characters by sending them out of the Soul Society. And it looks like Ichigo has just killed the king, which would put the whole Soul Society against him. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, though, because he will just be able to be like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, and the Soul Society will probably listen to him. Oh, and Shinsui's down there still as well. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, it would appear that Soul Society is collapsing. This is pretty massive. I really hope that Kubo goes the distance with this and actually destroys the Soul Society. And, you know, this arc still has a propensity to last quite a while. There's a lot of Bankais left, which is a good gauge of how long Bleach has got left. There's a good amount of Bankais left. And I think the final part of this arc could be set in the Royal Realm. Just have like a big section of that. Have the Elite Guard take over one of the palaces each, or something like that. But yeah, this was an awesome chapter, in case you can't tell. I really like it. I give it a 9 out of 10. I'm dropping a mark for a couple of reasons, though. It felt, again, still really short. Like, I liked the stuff with the Gote this week, but we didn't need to spend as long on it as we did. And again, we're still lacking vital answers. So, yeah, 9 out of 10 this week. Let me know in the comments below, guys, what you thought of this week's chapter. Did you like it? Do you like the fact that Soul King might already be dead? That's another thing I don't really like, but I've been saying that for weeks now. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that Ichigo is going to go against the Soul Society now, as in they're going to have to fight him? Or do you feel that the Soul Society is literally going to be destroyed and it's all going to be set in the palace now? The palace could become the new Soul Society eventually. Who knows? Either way, I feel like the king is going to be dead and irrelevant. Like, irrelevant in the lore of Soul Society by the end of this. There is going to be no royal family anymore. That's what I think is going to happen. But, yeah, let me know in the comments below, guys. As always, don't forget to subscribe. That'd be super great. And, yeah, I'll catch you next time. Give this video a thumbs up. That'd be awesome. But until next time, guys, I'll see you later.